Okay, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle once again with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real, where I get to interview the local experts and people that can really help to inspire you to take action in your life. Today, I'm lucky enough to have Jeff Stier. So, Jeff, thanks for being with me, buddy.
Yeah, super pumped.
Yeah. So, me and Jeff met through a mutual friend, Patricia. She introduced us a couple of years ago, and I was very impressed when I met Jeff, just with his drive and his mindset and his where he puts his focus. So, Jeff, why don't we start out? Kind of just give yourself a little intro, where you live, and tell us a little bit about your family and who you're working, like what your business is, and then I'll dive into some questions.
Cool. So I live in Flemington, New Jersey. I have been in Flemington for 5 years now, but I've grown up in the Somerset County area all of my life. Boundbrook, Manville, Somerville, Hillsborough, kind of everywhere. 7.5 years ago, I was a music teacher. I taught full-time in Westfield, New Jersey, 1st through 7th grade, vocal, instrumental, general music. I always say I didn't have a classroom. My classroom was really a cart with a keyboard on it that I just pushed from room to room. And I didn't have an office. My office was actually the back of the teacher's closet where they would cut paper. They just kind of stuck me there. And I really wasn't making a whole lot of money. You know, I didn't get into teaching to get rich. Like I knew that was not a reality, but I also didn't get into teaching to feel like I was broke all the time. And I always found like the month kept going after the money ran out. And so I kept a second job as a technician at a pharmacy in Boundbrook, Union Avenue Pharmacy. Ended up being the best job I ever had because I ended up marrying the pharmacist. So that job worked out for me. And then I was also playing piano and organ 3 days a week at a Catholic church in my hometown in Boundbrook. 75 hours a week and still making about half of what my wife was making with one job. And she said to me, you know, how many years are you going to kind of keep running this race? And I said, well, I've got about 38 more years to go as a teacher before I can kind of let that go. So, you know, unless something comes up. And so the problem was I needed more money because we were getting married and I had run out of hours to work and I had run out of shifts to pick up at my other jobs. And I needed to figure out a way, you know, whether it was going to be Uber or Lyft or, you know, an Etsy business or an eBay or Amazon reseller or something. And then my wife's cousin, Manny, introduced me to this company that I'm with now, Connect. And all he said to me when he called me was, he's like, bro, I found a way to get paid when people we know pay their electric bills. And that was the line that kind of hit me. And fast forward 7.5 years later, I've built a team of 2,100 plus people around the country that have helped over 10,000 people save money for free on life essential services, things they already pay for, like their electricity, like their cell phone bill. Here in Q1 of 2021, we're launching home security. And we have a brand new kind of native app to our company that allows people to get cash back on everyday purchases and pretty much save on everything they already buy and eat and use in life. And that's going to continue to expand with the idea of just being able to bring added value to people on stuff that's already paid for and, you know, habitually used without much thought. And so that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Nice. Yes, I know you got us with the gyms. You know, we utilize your services, and I think we do here at my house too, if I'm correct. I know that's a couple of years ago we set that up. So just explain to people before I dive back into that transition from working 3 jobs to Connect. How does, like, okay, for the gym, use the gym as an example. So we have what, PSE&G, we run our electricity.
You have JCP&L, I think, for your gym.
JCP&L. So tell us how that, like the logistics of it, how does it work? Like we're utilizing you, so how does that work?
Yeah, so it's super simple. The service that we offer is free. And the way I describe it is kind of like when you go to a grocery store. You know, let's say you go to ShopRite, you buy your groceries, and at the end, the cashier says, can you put your phone number in the pin pad? And if you do, they take $5 off the groceries. I work very much like the phone number in the pin pad, but for your electric bill. My service is free, doesn't cost you anything, and you're entitled to this discount. You know, Kyle, most people don't even realize that they are eligible or entitled to shop for a better deal. They just never do. But to get that better deal, to get that discount on your bill is free. So they set it up with me. It takes 5 minutes, and they're enrolled. I mean, the following month, they get the same bill from the same company, same quality and level of service, because if the power goes out, you're not calling me. You know, like we're in 2 feet of snow. If somebody's power went out today, I didn't hear about it. You still call your utility company because they are still the ones that do all of the billing and service. All you're doing as a consumer is telling JCP&L or PSE&G, hey, I want to get my electricity from a different place because it's less expensive. And the only reason we're able to be less expensive is because, to keep the grocery store analogy going, it's kind of like going to Costco rather than going to ShopRite, where at ShopRite, you might buy a little case of water or even water by the bottle. We're going like Costco and buying water by the case, or in this case, electricity. We can sell you that case of electricity for less money because you're buying it all up front, or we're buying it all up front. And that's what kind of gives the consumer that added benefit. So
excellent. Very cool, man. So let's go back to when it was your cousin?
My wife's cousin, yeah.
Wife's cousin. So when he told you about this and you decided to dive in, tell us about, so you're still working like 3 jobs. You know, you got your 2 jobs, playing the piano, the organ at the church. What is that transition like when you start working on this? Like, how long is that period of time before you're able to leave the other 2 jobs and go into this full time? Talk a little bit about that transitional period.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things I will say up front is I think a big problem with my profession, the network marketing profession, is there's so many people that are all hype. My thing is, if the opportunity is good enough, you can just present it how it is. And if somebody sees the value, they'll run with it. And that's the way it was presented to me. It was presented with no hype. It was, look, people we know pay for these services. And if we can bring some value to them, we can make money. And hey, if there are people that you know in your life that are out there looking for extra money, we can show them how to do the same thing. It was a simple idea: help a few and teach a few. So that the fact that it was delivered to me without hype is the same way I'll deliver it, you know, to anybody here that's watching. The reality was, for me, as I said, because I had so many jobs, this couldn't be something that was complicated or that took a lot of time. It needed to be something simple, not to say easy, but simple, that I could figure out quickly, which it was. And it was something that needed to be able to fit into nooks and crannies of my life. And so for me, my first job, or my primary job, was the teacher. So I would teach till 3:30, maybe work an extra hour at the school. And then from my teaching job to my second job at the pharmacy was like a 40-minute commute. So usually about 15 minutes of that commute, I just listen to music because I didn't want to think about anything other than just chilling out. But then that last half hour of my drive, I might call a buddy of mine and just say, hey, I've got something I'm working on. I really want to get it in front of you. I think it might be of interest to you. Or, hey, Amanda, I know you just moved into a place. I might be able to save you a couple bucks. I'm heading to the pharmacy now, but when I get out, maybe I'll give you a call, see if I can help you out. And what I did was I had all these like little mini conversations throughout the week, whatever I could squeeze it in. And then Saturday, that was kind of my day where I could devote a couple hours, you know? And so I played 5 o'clock mass every Saturday, every Saturday, 5 o'clock. So what I would do is I would talk to people throughout the week, and I would invite them all to the Starbucks on Cedar Grove Lane to either meet me at 12, 1, 2, or 3. If they couldn't meet me at Starbucks or between those times, we just didn't meet because I didn't have enough time to meet anywhere else really. And Zoom wasn't really around even at that time. Or if it was, I didn't know about it.
Sure.
And so I just funneled everybody into those couple hours on Saturday. It was kind of funny. I'd like sort of had my own little office space at Starbucks. I'd go in there every Saturday, pick my little corner office, grab a drink and just meet people for a little bit. These were people that I knew, people that I had, existing relationships with. So it's kind of cool. I just catch up with them, show them what I was working on. And some people loved it, jumped in and partnered with me early on. Some people, it wasn't for them, but they became a customer. And some, we just had a good conversation and they left. But over time, I was able to start building some leverage. J. Paul Getty always said, it's better to get paid on 1% of 100 people's efforts than on 100% of my own. There was only so much I could do by myself. But as I started to build a team, I was able to build some leverage and get some things really moving. And so 2013, I started the business. 2015, if I might admit, it was a little premature maybe, but 2015, I actually quit my job. I wanted to go to an event in Texas, and I asked for 2 personal days at my teaching job, 2 personal days, unpaid, and they denied both those days. And I had to fight tooth and nail to get 2 personal days off. And I actually had to tell them why I needed them, even though they're personal days. And they eventually approved it. And they said, you know what, Jeff, you have to figure out your priority because we'll never approve those again. And I decided at that time that, I was more important, and building something for my family was more important. And I ended up leaving. And over the last 5.5 years, 6 years almost now of kind of being able to go all in on this, we've really built something, significant for my family.
Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, very inspirational. I knew from when I met you that you had that, what I call like the hustler's mindset. Like, I see your shirt there, hashtag work to hustle, the dream of freedom, right? And that drive to maintain that schedule, right? And to just put your mind to it and do it no matter what. What was the big reason why? It wasn't just about making more money. It was, what was the big reason for you?
Yeah, so a couple of things. If anybody is familiar with Les Brown, Les always says, if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. And I didn't want to live a hard life. I watched my dad, love my dad to death, but he's owned a landscaping business for 35 years. And every time I speak about it, I always say, even though he's owned that business for 35 years, that business has really owned him for 35 years. And to me, I wanted to put in the work now to create something so that I could have a better life that I didn't get to have as a kid. I could give that to, and I didn't even have a daughter yet. I have a 3-year-old daughter named Charlotte now. But at the time, I was thinking, hey, I don't have any kids right now. I want to really do something special because one day I hopefully will have a kid. And I want to be able to be there because, what drives me nuts is I see all these people, that are close to me that I know, that if it wasn't for COVID, they'd never be with their kids because they're always working. They're always somewhere. And you find people watching their own kids grow up in pictures that somebody else took. And that, like, for me, it just was not the life that I signed up for. And so all I wanted to know was, was the juice worth the squeeze, right? Like if I worked really hard, could I create something big? And the answer was yes. And I always talk about this idea of probability versus possibility. I didn't care that not that many people make big, big money. All I wanted to know was it possible? Because if it's possible, I'll figure out how to get it done. The reality is in real estate, I think something like 90% of realtors never sell a single home in their career, 90%. So it's not easy to be a 6-figure or a multiple 6-figure real estate, agent, but there are agents out there. So I didn't care that most don't. I only cared that some did. And I figured out that if I just stuck with it, consistency is probably, and in the gym, the same thing I would assume, right? You go to the gym one day and you work out for 10 hours, it's not going to help you. Yeah. But if you go to the gym for a half an hour every day for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, or just keep it a permanent part of your routine, consistency is what's going to build, the compound effect, or there's a great book called The Slight Edge. Mm-hmm. Every day we make a decision that either gets us on the success curve or the failure curve. And I'm not perfect. I never claimed to be that, but I just made decisions every day that put me on the success curve. And although they seemed really small over the course of 6 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years, now 7.5 years, the choices I made led me here, and the choices other people led them here, even though we both started in the same place, if that makes any sense.
Right on, man. 1,000%. I remember listening to that book, The Slight Edge. Was a great book when I was still teaching, kind of going through something similar to yourself. But that's, so you're really big into, you have your reason why. Obviously, you're very well thought out, like you have your mission. You're very, I could tell, and hopefully people watching this can tell as well, that you're very into self-development.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, do you have mentors? Do you have coaches? How often are you reading and studying and working on yourself?
Every day. I find that, and I'm more than happy to connect with anybody on here. If you're looking for any kind of advice, I do some, just like Kyle does all this kind of great stuff. I'm always putting out content to try to inspire people to either get more organized or be more productive, or get their goals in order, or cast a better vision for their life, or whatever. I find personal development works great. Plugging into somebody else that has what you want works great, because if they already have it, you could just model what they're doing. As a pianist, for example, I used to pay every week for a half an hour or an hour lesson, depending on where I was in my life, but 30 minutes to an hour piano lesson, even though I knew how to play the piano. Why? Because somebody else knew how to play better than me. And the person that played better could help me get better faster than me just trying to figure it out in woodshed on my own and just go out there and bang away at the key. There's certain things that we can't see about ourselves that other people can see. There are things that we don't recognize that other people will recognize. And there are people that have already done it. It's like if you're getting ready to run a marathon, I'm not just going to start running. I may start running, but I may also say, who do I know that's maybe run a marathon? I just love to talk to them and kind of pick their brain and see what their diet looked like, what their routine looked like, how did they get going? Because rather than, getting a shin splint my first week of the process, I'd rather talk to somebody and say, hey, what you need to do the first week, you need to go real slow because you got to build up. And my point being, if you find that person that already has what you want and you just follow them and mimic what they're doing, you'll get it done faster. You'll fall on your face a lot less. And if you do fall on your face, you're not going to get cuts and bruises as bad if you're just falling on your face with nobody's help. So that to me was always really important. And early on, I learned, at least in my business, I learned this idea of having a personal development budget. Meaning every year, what amount of money you're willing to pay somebody else to teach you something. So my first year in this business, I paid $497, I think it was, for a course called Foundations for Success with a guy named Jim Rohn. If you never listened to Jim Rohn, that guy is the bomb. Go check that guy out. But for $497, in fact, I still have, because it was so good, I still have the notebook with all the notes I took from that course 7 years ago. But I paid $500 for that. But you know how much it was worth? And that's, I think, a big key here to mention is, like, it's not about how much it costs. It's about how much it's worth. If you spend $500, but it's worth $10,000, pay the $500. If you're looking to lose weight, you can lose weight on your own, but if you want to really get fit and look good, and it's going to cost you a couple $100 a month or whatever it is to get fit, I'd spend a couple $100 a month to get fit, because you're A, going to do it faster, B, it's going to be more sustainable, and C, you've got some accountability, because you don't want to lose weight for 30 days and then, gain all the weight and then come back the next 30 days. So you figure out that you can create a budget of how much you're willing to spend every year, and then make it a goal every year to increase that budget. I spend more money now for coaches and mentors and programs than I used to earn 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what continues to expand your brain.
Yeah, and you could tell that you're on it, man. And that's that energy draws people in too, right? And I think that probably fuels your energy every single day when you're getting inspired and tapping into the source every day, right? Yeah. So talk about your morning routine. What does that look like?
Sure. So if anybody's on here that has a little kid, the morning routine always changes. I have literally, Charlotte just turned 3 on Sunday. So my morning routine, I try to keep it as consistent as possible. The one thing I will say, this is a weird one, but if you go to YouTube and you type making your bed, there's a video, I forget who it is, Colonel something, talks about how important it is to make your bed. I know that's a silly thing, but I do start every morning by making my bed, because I find that if my bed looks like crap, so does the rest of my day. So I make my bed, I come downstairs, I get my breakfast. I usually read for 15 minutes. I have like a little reading nook where I just kind of sit. And I'm not telling you I'm always reading personal development. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I don't know if you can see it. Pet Cemetery, It is down here. I got The Shining over here. You know, huge Stephen King fan. So sometimes I'll just read that, or I'll read, you know, just something to get my brain like kind of moving. And then one thing I will say, and this is not about my morning routine, it's really about my night before routine. A lot of people will try to plan their day in the morning. I find personally that's a challenge, because you get up and you want to start your day, and instead of starting your day, you're like planning your day. So I plan my day the night before. Nothing like super formal or crazy, but I look at my calendar the night before and I say, okay, I've got this, this, this. All right, I need to fit this in. I might jot a couple things down. Maybe I even go in my calendar and I'll block out little chunks of time that I don't want to get interrupted. But for me, I plan my night out the night before, right? And then in the morning, I kind of look at my day and I go, okay, here's what I figured out last night that I need to do. And then I do the most important thing first. If we're talking so much about reading and personal development, there's a great book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog. And the idea behind the book is the frog is the thing you don't want to do. It's kind of like that nasty thing that's just like, oh, do I really have to, you know, reach out to people about my business, or do I really have to make those calls, or do I really have to, whatever it is for you, that thing that's kind of, it's the, here, if you want to figure out what your frog is, it's the thing you keep putting on your list and never do. There's your frog. So you put the frog on the list and you do that first. Because in the morning, it's typically when, and I'm not even a morning person, but it's when your like willpower, your ability to kind of push yourself is at its fullest. You're kind of sharp, you're ready to go, and the day is fresh. So I always hit the thing that I know I need to do right out of the gate for two reasons. One, if the rest of my day goes to shit, excuse my language, but if the rest of the day just goes haywire, I know I at least did the most important thing that I needed to do for the day. The second thing is that typically, if you do the thing you didn't want to do, you get more motivated to keep doing all the other stuff you probably should be doing, but you've been putting off. You know, it's kind of funny, and I'm sure you see this, Kyle, in fitness as well. People say, oh, I need to get in better shape, but I just don't feel motivated. I got to get motivated. And so they wait around for motivation to just show up. But if instead they did the thing that they're waiting to get motivated for, if they just did it, guess what happens? They get motivated.
Yeah.
It's like if you've been dreading going to the gym, just go to the gym and you'll be glad you did, and you'll be in it, and you'll be going. So for me, by doing that, you know, eating that frog first thing in the morning, that thing you need to get off your list, it actually makes you feel motivated. You're like, damn, I'm crushing the day. I'm going on, like I'm doing my thing. And then all of a sudden you'll find you'll have a much more productive day than if you start with like, maybe I'll do the dishes first, and then I'll organize, and I'll, you know, take my filing cabinet out, and I'll get rid of old bills I can throw away, like all the busy work. A lot of people I know, they say that they're so busy, but the question really isn't how busy are you, but how productive you are.
Yeah.
And so starting in my morning by just, you know, kicking it in right away has helped me, you know, keep my days moving, because I always say, how many lost days have you had? Like we start on Monday, we're killing it. Then Tuesday we flop. And so Tuesday ends as a flop, and we go, you know what? Ugh, this week is just shot. You know what? I'll just start Monday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday become lost days. You know, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you have 5 lost days a week, it's like 250 days out of the year end up being lost. And if we could just figure out little hacks to lose a few less days a year, you know, you'll make more money, be in better shape, have better relationships, you know, all of those things. So I know I went on a while, but hopefully that answered the question.
All right, that's great, Jeff. That's great. I got a couple finishers for you before we tell people where they can find you and connect with you.
Yep.
What is, when I ask you, what's your favorite book? What comes to mind?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
I probably read that book about 6 times.
Nice. That's a classic. If you knew, how old are you now, Jeff?
I'm 32.
Okay, so if you were to go back to the 20-year-old Jeff and give him some advice, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
Don't think so much and take more risks. I think, a quick side story that I do think is important. When I was 11 years old, I wanted to be a zoologist or a veterinarian. That was like my dream. And I realized that unless you were Steve Irwin or Jeff Corwin and had TV shows, zoologists didn't really make any money. And veterinarians made a lot of money, but they had to put animals down. And I was like, I only want to see the animals when they're healthy. So I kind of gave up on that early on. But because I had such a love for animals, I owned every conceivable pet that you could think of. And I lived with my grandmother at the time. So her whole basement was like my little zoo. And the reason I bring this up is every Saturday I would go down there to clean the tanks and the cages. I had snakes, lizards, rabbits, mice, birds, everything. One day I went down there one Saturday and there were in my mouse cage, there were my 2 mice and a pile of eyeless, earless, hairless, pink little gummy bear looking baby mice. And I was like, what in the world is going on? I was like maybe 11 years old. What in the world is going on? So I got a book on how to just care for and make sure that, raising baby mice, that they wouldn't die. I take them to, at the time, it was Somerville Pet Shop, which I think now is Venetian Grill in Somerville. And I actually asked the guy if he'd buy them off me. And he bought them off me for 55 cents a piece. And at 11 years old, I was savvy enough to say, well, I can go buy something with the whatever it was, $18 I think I made. But instead I bought another cage. And I ended up, it's crazy, true story. I ended up selling 500 mice a month for the next 2 years. And I found out that if they had color on them, if they weren't just white, they would label them as fancy mice in the pet store. And I could get 75 cents a piece. No joke. And I made thousands of dollars as like a 12-year-old kid selling mice to the pet store. And the reason I bring up that story is because then I got into high school and the guidance counselors and everybody around me and everybody in my life said, what do you want to do for a living? What do you want your job to be? And I always kind of had this like entrepreneurial bone in my body, but everybody sort of crapped on the idea of doing something because it was risky or that something might happen or, whatever the case may be. And so when I found this opportunity, when I found this company, it kind of it woke up the entrepreneurial spirit in me again. And I realized that I could do something. And so the 20-year-old me, I would have just said, don't listen to those people that tell you it's not going to work. Those things don't work. Nobody makes any money. You're going to fail. It's too hard. And just go do it anyway.
Right on, man. That's fantastic. And that's a great story, man, about the mice. That's good, man. So tell people, Jeff, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you to either to learn from you or to utilize your services or connect? How do you want them to get in touch with you?
So I'm on social media quite a bit. So you can find me on Facebook, just Jeff Stier, JEFFSTIER. You'll see a picture of me and my wife. Find me on there. I'm very active on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Jeff Stier, just with an underscore in between. Jeff_Stier. Either one of those, would love to connect with you on there, and you'll be able to kind of plug into some of the Facebook Lives and content that I bring, especially on Facebook there. And honestly, if you want to give me a call and connect, 848-702-4905. 848-702-4905. Be happy to talk to any of you and see how we can, how I can help you.
Excellent, man. I'll make sure I get that in the show notes. I'll type that up today. So it was a pleasure having you, man. Just give me 1 second, Jeff, okay?